Hi, everybody. This is Bob Ost, and it's Theater Resources Unlimited's TRU Community Gathering. For those out there who are new to us, Theater Resources Unlimited is a service organization. We're not for profit, and we help. Basically, our original mission was to help producers produce. But then we started realizing that it's valuable for everybody in the business to understand the business of theater. So we give workshops and programs that basically help writers as well as producers and actors and directors develop their business skills and develop their understanding of the business of theater. That's why we do this. That's why we're here. And the TRU Community Gathering, I think this is 118th consecutive one. I hope I'm not I keep forgetting to do the math before I turn this on. I think it's 118th consecutive week since April 17th, 2020. For those of you who have been asleep for a couple of years, something called COVID happened and put us all into shutdown. And while you were sleeping, the rest of us were trying to figure out how to be creative and productive and sane in a situation that none of us had ever experienced before in our lives. None of us had ever been in an endless quarantine. In an effort to help people feel more like a community, I decided to open up a Zoom room on Fridays and welcome people in and have the opportunity to meet each other, talk about what we're doing, talk about our feelings. Yes, we talk about feelings sometimes. And bring in speakers who have interesting things to say and have done interesting things through COVID, before COVID, going out of COVID. We are, I have to say, we must give COVID credit. It's awfully clever. Who would have expected it could have come up with even more variations? Its creativity is just unlimited, isn't it? So we now have what, B15 and I don't know what they're called anymore. I was so much better when it was Greek letters. I could remember those. Now it's getting numbers. I don't know what the numbers are. So we still have it. It's still with us. And in New York, we're trying to be a little bit careful. We don't have mask mandates now, but in general, a lot of us would still like it if people would be careful and masked when they're with each other in groups, especially in outdoor situations and actually in indoor situations. It's considered a little less. Well, let's forget whether indoor or outdoor matters. COVID just doesn't care. COVID's going to get you if it wants to get you. It just does it. And I've been vaxxed twice and boosted twice. I wear my mask. I was wearing a double mask for a while. Now I just make sure it's a K95. And I managed, going out once or twice a week at the most, I managed to get COVID twice so far. So the good news is it's not necessarily fatal or serious or that much of an ordeal for most people. But for the sake of the other people that might be vulnerable, let's just be conscious of each other. Let's be safe. So our conversations over the past year and 2.5 years have been, I didn't know what I was going to talk about every week on Fridays, and yet we managed to find endless things to talk about. So many interesting aspects of people going through COVID and going through shutdown, not through COVID, but going through shutdown and finding ways to be creative and make art during this period. And we've talked about politics. We've talked about a lot of different things. Now we're talking a little bit more about live performance. We're talking about something that was inevitable, I think, as resistant as so many of us were to virtual performance, and as much as we ground our heels into the ground and stamped our foots and said, no, I want live performance, only live performance, we've discovered that the virtual medium is actually useful and interesting and does offer opportunities for creativity. So I think I'm going to declare it official. We're officially in an era of hybrid performance. We're in an era where we're going to combine aspects that are live with aspects that are filmed and virtual. And I think we're going to have an interesting artistic life going forward that's different than the one we had before. Um, with that little preliminary, I want to bring into the room my two guests today, both of whom know exactly what I mean when I say hybrid theater. It's nothing that was brought to you by Tesla, but we do have hybrid now, and there are good reasons for doing it. Jody Bell is with Stellar. Do you have a full name, or do we just call it Stellar?
It's Stellar.
We just call it Stellar.
It's called Stellar.
The thing that a lot of people know about Stellar is that it's a ticketing platform, but it's not. It's not really. It's much more than a ticketing platform, and we're going to talk about that. And one person who's benefited from what Stellar offers is Madelyn Paquette, who is part of the 24-hour plays. And we're going to talk about first what Stellar offers and why Madelyn in 24-hour plays likes that. So why don't we start a little bit with the background of who you are? Let's get to meet you first. Jody, let's meet you and tell us how you found your way to Stellar.
Yeah.
How did you become Stellar?
Thank you. So a little bit of background on me. I went to school at the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California. So hi to the California folks out there as well. And I majored in musical theater. And so I lived all across the country performing in regional productions. I sang on a cruise ship, and then did some off-Broadway shows, off-Broadway shows.
I gotta ask you, which cruise ship did you sing on?
Well, the Palm Beach Princess. It was like based in West Palm Beach. I think
I love cruises.
Now. Yeah, so yeah, but it's a phenomenal way to kind of see Southern Florida and the Bahamas and beyond. But I then did some theater up here in New York City, and that's kind of how I was introduced to TRU, because I did a show with one of your members, June Rachelson Ospa. I was in one of her shows called Triangle, and I think that was about 15, 16 years ago. So
you were 3.
Yeah, exactly. I was 3 years old. And so I have known her since then. But I wanted to be a performer, but I realized that the business side of theater and the arts was something that was more interesting to me. So I ended up working for the Broadway producer Ken Davenport, leading up his group sales department for multiple years. So that was during the Godspell days, the Macbeth days, and so on. And then really moved into more of a tech role for myself, and trying to figure out different companies that marry tech and the arts, because I think that there's a lot of great things that if we work together, we can really push the arts forward. And throughout my career, my most recent move, I've moved over to Stellar with what you said. It's not just a ticketing platform, it's a platform that helps creators and venues and theaters stream, whether that means live stream, on demand, rentals, or even in-person ticketing. And we can get into that in a little bit.
But we'll save that.
That's my background.
Okay, well, thanks. We're going to talk about a lot. So,
Great.
Madelyn, tell us about the 24. Well, tell us about yourself first.
Sure. So my name is Madelyn Paquette. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the general manager of the 24-hour plays. We're a tiny shop that does a lot of work. 4 of us at the 24-hour plays, putting on work online and back in person.
And now, I've seen a lot of very well-known actors that were in your 24-hour plays.
Yes.
You're very well connected for a small company.
We are famous now as the Hugh Dancy factory, I think, of all of Hugh Dancy's monologue work. But yes, it's because we work with artists over the course of just 24 hours. We see people from all over the country, all over the world, from Broadway, from film and television, from anywhere, working with us on various productions of the 24-hour plays, the 24-hour musicals, 24-hour plays, viral monologues, and more.
Well, okay, thank you. Let's start with Stellar. Let's establish what Stellar is. How and why did Stellar get started? How did it happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So Stellar was kind of born out of the pandemic. As you said, it's been an unfortunate time for us, but there has been some great things that have come out of the pandemic. And I'd say that one of them has been Stellar. And so one of our founders, Jim McCarthy, he was a co-founder of the ticketing platform Gold Star, which I don't know if you're aware of, but that's like a platform where you could list tickets on, maybe at a discount, and it's a discovery platform. And so he had been running that, I believe, for 20 or 25 years. And then the pandemic hit, and all of the shows that had been on there that were in person were now moving more to a virtual aspect. And he saw that people were, ticketing the show, tickets for the virtual show on maybe one ticketing platform, and then streaming the show on Zoom. And we all love Zoom, but sometimes, that may not be the best place for us to do a live performance. And so he saw then that people were mailing people their tickets on a different email platform. And it was just a very discombobulated type of service. And so that was where the idea of Stellar was born, where he thought, how can I marry up all of this together and make an amazing platform for folks that are creators or venues that really need some help during this time, get the word out about the shows that they're producing, and have an amazing Stellar platform to allow them to do all of this. So Stellar basically packages all that into one. So you're able to ticket and to promote and to market, and then to stream to an audience. And so we have a lot of different ways that we can help any creator do that.
Okay, so let me see. Let's turn to 24-hour plays for a second. What was the history of 24-hour plays, and did shutdown change your company, or did your company grow out of when did you start?
Yeah, so the 24-hour plays were founded in 1995 by Tina Fallon on the Lower East Side.
It's a little bit longer than COVID.
Yeah, so we've been around. It's always sort of come out of this idea of, the original idea behind the 24-hour plays was just this group of friends who all wanted to make work together, but because they were, starving artists, none of them had the money to put up a full show, and they didn't have a space to do a full show in anyway, or the time, because they all had day jobs. But they figured that if they could get a theater to let them use the space on a dark night on a Monday, and they made work all in that 24-hour span, that they could do. And that they could make work, and that they could pay for. And so they did it once in 1995, and then people more or less just didn't let them stop doing it. They thought of it as just sort of a one-time thing. And now here we are. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're kind of coming up on 30 years later here, but coming up on 30 years later, and we're still doing it. But the pandemic, I think in a lot of ways, I think the way I would describe it is it allowed us to tap into something that's sort of really core of what we do in a really new way. So at the 24-hour plays, because we make work so quickly, right, that's written, rehearsed, and performed in 24 hours, we often have been the first theatrical event to respond to world events. So the very first time the 24-hour plays on Broadway was produced was in September of 2001. But we've also had events that responded. I think another really topical one is the Broadway show in 2016, was less than a week after the election. And so, of course, all of those plays were in one way or another about that election.
Oh, gee, what could there have possibly been to say?
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty much nothing, right? Just nothing to say. And so,
so let me ask you something. First,
yeah,
where are you based? Let everybody know where you're based.
Yes, we're based in New York City, although we do shows all around the world. So yeah, email me if you're interested in doing the 24-hour plays at the end, because we do shows all over the place, but we're New York City based.
Now the 24 hours, how long is the average play that's created for you?
Yeah, so in our typical shows, we have, when we do the 24-hour plays, 6 plays that are usually somewhere in the 10 to 20 minutes long, depending on how harsh we are with the playwright on sticking to that limit and how many pauses the director lets stay in the play, right? So 6 short plays. We also do the 24-hour musicals, which the plays, they've lost their magic for me. I'm like, of course, plays can be written in 24 hours. The musicals, I'm still sort of like, how does this happen? But we do 4 about 20-minute musicals also during those shows.
What's the process? What are the steps?
Yeah, so everybody gets together. I mean, we do a lot of producing before this, right? But I won't bore you with the staff stuff.
Oh,
But the
no, no, no.
24
We're a
hours,
producers organization.
that's true. That's true. I forgot. Most people aren't usually interested in hearing about the producing side of it, right? I have to know my
I
audience
force
here.
people to listen to the producing side of it.
Exactly.
My basic premise is that the more you know about the business, the better you can navigate the business.
It's very true.
And also, as Jane Dubin will tell everybody, producers love artists who actually understand the business.
It's true.
So if you want to be loved, listen.
Exactly. So, for our typical shows, we'll start a few months in advance. In New York, obviously this is in-house, but if we're working with a partner, like for instance, we're working on a show in St. Louis in a couple of weeks now. So we'll work with them on kind of licensing and setting up their production services in advance.
Well, let me ask you something. How does that work? I mean, do companies seek you out and say, I want to do a 24-hour play thing, or have you created partnerships on your side? Where do the partnerships come from?
It's kind of a little bit of both, right? Sometimes people will hear about us and they'll reach out about wanting to do it. We license, because the 24-hour plays is a registered trademark, we license our name and our logo and our production handbook to high schools and to colleges and to community theaters, and to some extent to professional theaters as well, although we like to be a little bit more involved in those professional productions than if it's just a high school doing it, although I love our high school shows very much. I don't say that to minimize our high school shows. So sometimes people will find us. We're as we move into 2023, and I'll talk about more of this a little bit later, but something the pandemic, a boon for us from the pandemic is a lot more people heard of us through our Viral Monologues program. And so now as we're looking ahead to sort of, well, this year to some extent, but very much to next year, like our next big frontier is really expanding our partner operations in different cities in the US and around the world. So I think we're going to be recruiting a little bit more actively than we have in the past, I think, moving forward.
Let me clarify something, because I'm not sure that you may have said it, but I may have missed it. Was everything that you've done prior to shutdown live, or were you already using the virtual medium?
No, prior to shutdown, pretty much everything was live. We did have a sort of, I really think if we had launched this in the TikTok era, it really would have taken off. But we really tried with the 24-second plays, like sometime in the 2010s. We were like, the 24-second plays.
I'm a playwright. You're terrifying me. You're terrifying me.
Where it was, plays that were 24 seconds long. Sorry, so we realized are better for a workshop
I can't
format.
say hello in 24 seconds.
I know. I think that's what we discovered. I think that if we had, if we'd had TikTok behind us, it really could have been a moment, but we were ahead of our time, really, I think, with those. But yeah, before that, we were totally in person. We even, one of my artistic director's favorite kind of quips in the opening speech is, 6 plays never seen before, in all likelihood never to be seen again. And it's only now kind of post or I don't know, mid post pandemic that we started to experiment with actually those plays maybe can be seen again by people on screens who are not in the theater with us. But beforehand, it really was just the, however many 100 people were there that night, and that was it.
I'm going to move back to Jody for a second. Can you talk about some of the other companies that have benefited, or that you think have benefited from Stellar, from your service?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say like one of the biggest events that we have done to date was a reunion concert with the Jagged Little Pill cast. Back, I think it was in December of 2020 or 2021, they had a cast reunion and they filmed it live and they streamed it on Stellar. And they had over 20,000 people sign on and watch it, and it was so popular that we brought it back. So we pre-recorded it, and then we brought back an encore performance of it. And what was so amazing is that with Stellar, you have this chat functionality. And so people went on to the stream before the performance began, and then they stayed on to the chat after, at least like an hour after. They were just so excited. And it was just, with that show, it's just such a beautiful show. And the fan base was so huge with Alanis Morissette, with her like whole fan, but then just the fans of that show, that it was just such a wonderful time to bring the fans and that community together to watch something, you know, when we were really craving something at that time. And so I'd say that was one of the most successful events that we've had on Stellar, because everything just fell into place so nicely, and they had such an amazing fan base.
So
And
all of it was presented live.
it was live, yes.
So my next question along those lines is: Have you ever had a company that's used some live and some recorded material? And let us know how that works.
Yes, and we could share an example with Madelyn as well. So with the 24-hour plays, and I'll let Madelyn talk about how they've done it, the recording sites. But what with Stellar, like we offer like live streaming, then you could do video on demand, and you could also do rental. But something that we also like to do is what we call pre-recorded to live. And so you are taking that pre-recorded content, but you're making an event of the time that the show is being premiered on Stellar. And that's exactly what we're doing with an upcoming show for the 24-hour plays. They're doing a virtual premiere, because what we like to do is help you with your audience that you've built throughout the past 2.5 years during the pandemic. That's all over the place. Like, why not create an event where that whole audience can come together and watch your content for the first time, and then you could leave it on Stellar for, you know, however long you have negotiated with the unions or the writers. And so that's exactly what we're doing with the 24-hour plays, and that's what we call like a pre-recorded to live. So you have an event that everyone can come in and like tune into on Friday at 8 p.m. and then watch it later on as well.
That reminds me to ask Madelyn now. In your 24-hour plays, do you ever use equity and union actors? And if so, what is the agreement that you work with?
We do. Because our shows are one-night events, we generally produce under the Theater Authority benefit agreement. We
Which is
did,
what I did also.
For our recent, we recently did our first live show back after the pandemic, was the 24-hour musicals, which we performed and recorded in Los Angeles. For that show, at the advice of the folks at the Bourbon Room, because this is how they had worked before, and also because Theater Authority was not at that point back to approving in-person productions yet. We did produce that one.
Are they back now?
They sure are, yes, much to my relief.
Okay.
They are back, so thank goodness. They had been doing virtual, and we had worked with them virtually as well for some of our shows.
So I have to keep asking this because I'm really curious.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Theater Authority is now allowing live benefits performances, which usually means, I mean, it used to mean 3 performances were allowed. Often it's just 1, but there is a way of doing it so that you can do 3. Are they also still using the virtual Theater Authority agreement with SAG that they had in place? Not with SAG. It's not really SAG, but
I'm actually not sure. This is something I was thinking about this earlier today, and thinking about emailing them, because I think we do have partners that would like to continue producing virtually, ideally under this agreement. So I'm not sure. They do reference telethons on their website, so maybe, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's something I want to find out also. I'm really curious about that. I actually I've sort of become a fan of the virtual benefit. There's so much less cost involved in creating a virtual benefit, and you can make as much money as you could make going crazy at Caroline's with 3-course meals and all of this stuff that's so complicated to do. It really simplified my life. So I'm
we
hoping
thought
we can do it.
It really works well, especially for certain types of communities. We have a few partnership shows that we do with like college theater alumni associations, essentially. And we found, like, one of the surprise discoveries of this past 2.5 years is a virtual show works really, really well. Actually works better than a live show for those kinds of development offices, right? Because they're able to engage alumni, not just for, an off-Broadway show in New York City, but people all around the world, and artist alumni all around the world to participate. So we've found that works really, really well if you know your community and how to engage them, for sure.
Well, I want to let you know, because you haven't been checking the chat, you've got a lot of love in the chat about the benefit that you're talking about. And let's see, one question for you that I think is interesting. Somebody said something about they know of other 24-hour plays that are being done. What's the copyright issue? How can people do that if you have the copyright?
So this is something that is a constant task in our office, I think. So we do hold the copy to the 24-hour play, the copyright to the 24-hour plays, or the trademark rather to the 24-hour plays. And so while it's completely fine for people to produce, you know, one day theater frenzy or whatever they want, if they want to call it something distinct, that's fine. We can't force you to work with us if you want to call it something distinctly different. But we do deal with a fair amount of trademark infringement. That's something that we're working on, taking our licensing process and working with another company on this that I can't talk about too much right now, but we'll hopefully be able to announce soon. But yes, people do get lovely, polite, please join our community or change your name emails from me. Yeah, they're doing their own 24-hour theater thing. But Provincetown in the chat does work with us. We love David. David's a real friend of the organization, David Drake there. So Provincetown licenses from us. We love that show.
I love David Drake.
Yeah, they do a really wonderful. They do, I even think, an encore production of it there because they like doing it so much. They do 2 performances.
So I try to split the conversation, but I still want to ask you something, Madelyn. What has changed since COVID for you, and since discovering Stellar and discovering virtual? What is like something that you're so glad that you discovered about this new virtual world, and what are the things that maybe are challenging for you in your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in a lot of ways, the pandemic really provided us an opportunity to get to the core of what we do well as a company and find an opportunity to produce more work. Before 2020, we were doing 2 or 3 live productions in New York a year, plus a smattering of partner shows that we were lightly to heavily involved in. But starting with the shutdown, we were supposed to have a live show that took place on March 16th, 2020, which of course did not happen. But instead, on our first day in the virtual office that day, we came up with the idea for the 24-hour plays viral monologues, which takes our 24-hour process, brings it into a remote space. And instead of creating plays for 4 or 5 people, it's writers who are writing brand new monologues. And so we debuted, I think we were hoping for 24. I think we had 23 monologues, I'm remembering correctly, that we sent emails out to playwrights that Monday, and we had 23 monologues that just our 3-person, not even really 3 full-time staff at that time, did all of the emailing, did all of the pairing our artists together, editing the videos, posting them on social media, and that all happened.
So they were filmed and edited.
24 hours.
You filmed and edited these. These weren't necessarily live.
No. So the way the viral monologues works is, because we felt like, especially then, we did not know on March 16th, 2020, how to handle a live stream. I think we were not ready for that. That took us several more months to kind of figure out how do we take our process and make it literally live online. So the way the viral monologues work, our actors send in videos by 5 p.m., kind of kicking off the process, saying, here's where I can film, right? I have a garden out back. Here's my bedroom, right? I have a balcony, that kind of thing. And here's some props and costumes that I have, some special skills, something I've always wanted to do in performance that I've never gotten the chance to. This is kind of an adaptation of what we do with our in-person show, where everybody gets together in a room and says these things. And of course, they don't have to say where they can film because it's on the stage. And so then that video is sent to the writers. The writers have until 9 a.m. the next morning to write a new monologue for their actor. The actor gets it at 10 a.m. and they have until 5 p.m. To memorize and record. And then it goes to our team of editors who are incredible.
Wait. Memorize? They can't just hang it up on their screen?
So I'm sure plenty of people do that. They have to be able to fool us into thinking that they're not doing that.
Right.
And many people have monologues written where it would be difficult. Of course, plenty of them are just people looking at a camera, but others are more active, or like Hugh Dancy was in a pool one time. I'm not sure where he would have taped it up in his pool, right? So yeah, well, every once in a while we get pieces where it's like, oh, we can tell you're reading. Most folks are at least pretty good at fooling us, that
Right. Okay.
they've memorized it, and that's the magic of theater, right? But then it goes to our editors, and then we post them to watch for free on our social media platforms. So that first round, it was just Instagram, but now it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And we've done 43 rounds, I think, is what I counted up, for over 600 monologues. And that doesn't include, we have some partner rounds we sort of don't do in that tally.
What's the average length of the monologue?
It really varies, right? We tell people to kind of aim for a 5 to 7 minute piece. Of course, sometimes they end up being 15 minutes long. It kind of depends on the actor choice. But we aim for kind of like 5 to 7 minute pieces.
Okay. Wow. Let me go back to Jody for a second. What do you offer for like for a live performance? What does Stellar offer?
Sure.
Why use Stellar if we're going live, if we're doing a live
Sure.
performance?
So I think like with Stellar, we have a great platform that you can use for like GA ticketing. So general admission ticketing. So you could utilize like all of our suite of like back-end marketing tools and functionality, but then you also get like an app that we call like a Stellar Organizer app, where you're able to check in and scan people in through your phone. And it's just an easy, clean platform. So it's the same functionality, whether you're using the platform for in-person, live streaming, rentals, on demand. And we actually, you're raising your hand.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you offer a unique website for each show? Can people build their website through your platform?
Yeah, so you can get a landing page on the Stellar site. So all of your events and all of your shows can be listed on the Stellar site. And then on our main site, stellartickets.com, like you can see all of the shows that are currently on Stellar, and you could even filter by what's live stream, what's on demand, what's in person. You can filter by that as well, but you could build your own Stellar page. So
well, that's two sides of the coin. I mean, what you're talking about now is an audience. This is how you get viewers. It's people. You're set up in such a way so that your play might get viewership because of people who are Stellar subscribers, audience members, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say like mainly like the people that are buying tickets to whether the show is in person or live stream is through your own audience. I wouldn't call us necessarily a discovery site where people are going to stellartickets.com to purchase tickets and find new events. Really, what you're doing is using the platform to sell tickets, to get your stream all set up. And then we have like marketing tools where like tracking or affiliate links, pixels, things like that, where you're able to utilize different tools on the back end to increase and grow your audience. I wouldn't say we have a large database of people, because the really great thing about Stellar is that anyone that buys a ticket through Stellar, all of that audience data is actually yours as the event organizer, as the production, as the venue. So like, for example, anyone that buys a ticket to a 24-hour play show, Stellar doesn't own that data. Madelyn and her company, they own that data. So they're free to market to those individuals, to add them to their mailing list and things like that. We're just kind of the platform that is holding the tickets.
Along those lines, Madelyn, tell me how you market your 24-hour plays, and what part of the marketing do you use Stellar for, and what are the other things that you do to get your word out to your audiences?
Absolutely. So I'll give the grain of salt first that I'm not our marketing master at the 24-hour plays, but I'll give you my best summary.
Okay.
So a lot of our marketing takes place through social media, right? So for instance, right now, the show that we're launching next Tuesday is our filmed version of the 24-hour plays nationals, which is our early career professionals program. So for that show, a lot of our marketing is coming through organic shares from our 43 participants, right? We have these 43 early career folks who are excited to have their parents and their college roommates and folks who were not in New York see their show right? Which for many of them was like their off-Broadway debut. So we're seeing a lot of organic shares from those people through social media content. We also do e-blasts. Stellar has been really wonderful in connecting us for this and for our 24-hour musicals stream earlier this year with e-blasts through Telecharge, which have been really fantastic, both in terms of generating ticket sales, but also just in terms of getting the word out to people, right? We really think that the more times you can kind of get that marketing touch to an audience member, the more likely, like eventually they will say, wait a minute, I've seen this a few times and I've remembered this time that I'm interested and I'm actually going to check it out.
And how much are your tickets for your event?
Yeah, so for this one coming up, and I'll get you all a discount code, so
okay,
stay tuned. But
love discount codes.
But for this virtual show with Nationals, our streaming tickets are $12. So we're really, with this one, really concerned with getting as many people into the virtual room as possible. So we're trying to price accordingly for that.
Is there any maximum in terms of how many people can come into the virtual room?
So I think you can set a maximum, right, Jody? We do not. Yeah, we're excited to have as many people as possible, but I think if you want a more exclusive event, you absolutely can.
Oh no, I'm just thinking on some other platforms, basically you can get 300 people, but you can't necessarily have more than that come in.
No, so not like Zoom,
Yeah.
right, where you might be capped by your plan limit. I think we can have as many as want to squeeze on in.
Jody, what's the biggest audience that you're aware of having had at Stellar?
I think it was, I'd say probably the Jagged Little Pill event, but we've had over 500,000 people view a ticket on Stellar or view an event at some point, and we haven't even been around for 3 years. So it's incredible, and it's incredible. Like, what I love is that throughout the pandemic, all of you have built your audiences, you've grown your shows in so ways. I'm so inspired by hearing the stories of everyone that's been writing shows. And like, it's just such an incredible way to get your show or your theater or whatever project you're working on out there. And we work with like really huge events. We're working with an event that's like gonna be in our, like, I can't say too much about it, but has a huge, like, tens of thousands capacity in person, and then they're also going to stream that online. But imagine the audience that you can get, because at a certain point, if you're in let's say a 199 seat theater, you can only sell 199 seats. But if you open it up to that virtual audience, there's no limit to that. And that's why I think hybrid events are so important.
Well, there's no hypothetical limit, but there's an equity limit.
Well, it's true, fair, depending on your union rules and things like that. But we also work with organizations that are much smaller, like a very small, like we do book readings. We work with very small theater companies, or we even do something that's really interesting is like all of the folks in the TRU community that are working on a new show or are workshopping shows. This is such a great way to either, find investors or producers in your show, or to even like get feedback from your shows. You can stream those to a closed audience on Stellar as well. So like, there's just a countless amount of ways that you can use the platform. And that's why I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Madelyn, when you were jumping into hybrid, because I don't know how you knew to do that so early. You were March 16th. I was April 17th, so I guess I wasn't that slow. But since you didn't really know what you were getting into, you had some thoughts about it probably. How did you know to go with Stellar as opposed to other platforms? What made you pick Stellar?
So we started working with Stellar just this year, and I think it comes out of some of our experience with live stream stuff and things that we wish were easier and better run with some of our other shows earlier on. We did do. So
you weren't with Stellar from the beginning, then?
Not from the very beginning.
Okay.
But we're really excited to be with them now. So we've started working with Stellar basically in conjunction with our return to live events. But to be honest, in many ways, I wish we had started working with you all sooner. We did a few of our.
Well, talk about the differences.
Yeah.
What was lacking in the others that you were able to set? What problems were you able to solve with Stellar?
So throughout 2020 and 2021, we did just a few shows, not nearly as many relative to our pre-taped I mean, it still happens in 24 hours, right? But our pre-taped viral monologues. But we did our early career professionals program and our Broadway show, right? Maybe it's not Broadway when it's online, but we kept the branding, right? We did those online as live streamed versions of the 24-hour plays in 2020 and 2021. So that consisted of, 6 plays with 4 actors in Zoom boxes. Although I did just go down to Miami and I saw one of the plays from the Broadway show produced in person down there, which was wild to see it after it was in Zoom boxes. Anyway, we did those streaming.
Not just in Zoom boxes, but individual. Everybody was in isolation, right? All the performers were in isolation. Well, with your monologues, of course, they're in isolation, but.
Right. But for 2020 in particular, right, people were very much like they were on their own in Zoom boxes performing from wherever they were, live streamed. And so we got to feel we shipped everyone Ethernet cables.
Did
we
people,
got to feel very nervous
I was going to ask you
it.
about this. So basically, I want to put an underscore under that for everybody. If you don't know, most of you do know, an Ethernet cable basically means that you're gonna hook your computer right into your router, and that gives you a much better Wi-Fi connection. The biggest problem that we have all had with virtual has been Wi-Fi. There's been lag and there's been latency, and there's the Wi-Fi just cutting people off in the middle of a sentence. So that's one thing that you learned that I think everybody needs to remember. Ethernet cables are friends.
Absolutely.
That's how I'm hooked up here.
No, we got very lucky that I don't think we've ever had a truly major. Well, we did with on our production team. Our production manager for one of these shows had her internet go totally out. No, his internet, because Kelsey stepped in. So we had someone else. Anyway.
Has everybody noticed, by the way, that I thought I was going to have internet problems today and I didn't?
It's topical.
Why am I saying that? Why am I never mind. I didn't say that. Let's keep going.
But with those shows, well, I'm referring to them as Zoom boxes. We didn't actually do them on Zoom. We used a platform called StreamYard, which connected to a stream on YouTube. And that worked okay.
A lot of people like StreamYard. I've been told by Joe Barros, for instance, that he thinks that StreamYard is better for musicals. They have a better.
I've heard that as well.
And the other thing that's the downside of StreamYard versus Zoom, for those of you who haven't heard this already here, is that StreamYard has a limit to the number of people you can have on screen, and Zoom does not have any limit. Yeah. You can have as many as you need.
And also 40. Some limit about Zoom, there's some more creative things that you can do with it, but then you're on Zoom. So in doing that, we were streaming to YouTube, and that worked okay, but it worked okay because we had to do a lot of kind of workarounds, right? So one thing with that is it was an unlisted YouTube link, but we were selling tickets, right? And there was really nothing that we could do to prevent people necessarily from just sending that YouTube link to whoever they wanted. And we basically just had to make peace with the fact of like, okay, some people are going to get this link that haven't bought tickets for it, and hopefully we sell enough tickets, and that kind of like link piracy isn't a major issue. And we'll never really know.
Hopefully they like what they see well enough that they actually. Do you have a donate button during your performances?
We do, yes, but that's something that is also, I think, much easier to do on Stellar because it's built into the platform. So while we could, have title cards where we said here's the donate link, or put it in our description, in Stellar it's native to the platform, which is another big thing that we really like.
How does your donation link? Jody,
I can jump in there too. So there's actually you can solicit donations in multiple ways in the platform. First can be when you're building out your event page, you could create a ticket type that is like including a donation. So on your ticket sales page, you can have one price, and then for the ticket, if you want a pay $10 donation, you can add that. And then when you also have added your ticket into the checkout, we have an upsell page. So we work with the East West Players. They have a show coming up, I think tonight actually. And they have on the second page, they have an upsell page where you're able to get donations before you've checked out as well. And then during the stream, you're able to, we have a little widget below when the stream is running where you're able to donate while the stream is happening. So there's multiple ways for these nonprofits. If you're raising money for a partner organization, there's multiple ways. We understand and we want to support the organizations that we work with. So there's multiple ways to collect donations.
Well, I'm going to ask a variation of a question I've asked before to both of you. What is it that you that you find that Stellar does better than some of the other platforms? Madelyn, you kind of gave us a little bit, but I really was waiting to find out what it was that made you decide Stellar solved problems that other platforms weren't solving.
Yeah, I think especially as we were thinking about sort of what to do with these live shows, or these recordings of our live shows, I think when people were working more exclusively online, there was some understanding that like the audience was kind of out there and we couldn't necessarily control who was seeing it. And so as we move back toward having these film versions of people on stage, right, who in the past had just expected it's the 300 people in the room who are seeing this, and if it's terrible, then it's only those 300 people who saw it in the room. Nothing we've produced so far this year has been terrible, fortunately, but that's the worry that people have sometimes. So with Stellar, it's been much, much easier for us to control that it's really only people who are getting tickets who are seeing the show, which is great for us, obviously, from a revenue side, but also great in making our artists feel secure that in taking risks in this sort of wild production process that we have, that it's not just out there floating around on the internet. It's also, in 2020 and 2021, I did a lot of manual sending of like, here's the link to see the show. Please don't share it. Here's the program kind of emails in small group BCCs. And that was kind of bad. I mean, it worked fine. Most people eventually got their link, but I got plenty of emails from people saying, I don't have this, and me saying, please check your spam. So Stellar has been a really efficient platform in terms of us being able to communicate with our audience in ways that feel a little bit more automated and a little bit more official also than just me sending an email. And that donate button in terms of integrating with, so many of our events have fundraising components as a nonprofit. So having that built in was something that was really, really helpful and effective for us. And also just there's some lovely, and we're really excited to use this with this show coming up in terms of kind of the live stream, or in our case, like pre-recorded live stream, right? But the premiere chat functions, this is something that was we had fun with on YouTube, but I think the Stellar platform gives you even more ways to make people feel like special or noticed in the chat and to engage that way.
The only way I know to really help people feel noticed is to have somebody running the chat.
Well, that helps for sure, but
Yeah.
Stellar has a badge system and ways that people can have specific badges as well, in ways that I think are much more specific and detailed than what you can do on other platforms that we've used.
And Jody, do you want to talk about anything more specific than you've
Yeah,
already mentioned?
absolutely. I'd say like I'll start like very high level and then I'll go a little bit more granular. But I think like if you think about it, like it's an all-in-one platform. So you don't have to use one website to ticket the event, one website to send confirmation emails, like Madelyn was saying, and then one website to actually get people to watch the stream. And then while they're watching the stream, have another site running chat. So for organizers that we work with, like people, like they're using literally 4 different sites, and there's someone like Madelyn on the back end trying to manage everything together, and it's kind of a big headache. So we really looked at what theater organizers needed and kind of built everything into this all-in-one platform. And then, I mean, I'm biased, but I think we do it really well. And it's also a beautiful platform to have your events hosted on. And then we also have those OTT apps that you're able to watch the shows. So if you have a Roku, if you have Apple TV, if you have an Amazon Fire TV, you're also able to watch the stream on your television. You're not just limited to watching it on a Zoom screen on your TV or on your phone. And a lot of times we actually recommend that you watch it on your TV, but then at the same time, chat along with the chat functionality on your phone and really feel like you're part of that. We also really care about the quality of what is being out there. And so with our packages that we provide our organizers, you get an account manager that helps you with setting up your events, like talks you through any sort of like marketing emails that go out. Because what happens is like when someone buys a ticket, it's automatically getting sent through the Stellar platform. So you don't have to worry about sending someone the link to view the live stream. So we help you understand all of the different ways that like the platform is really automatic and really helps you. So you can have time to focus on your show and making sure that all of that's set. And then we also have a stream coach that's included. And so basically what he does is, like you said, Bob, like a Ethernet cord is key to make sure that the internet is live and running. And so he will help you test your stream and make sure that everything is okay. So when it's time to go live, like you are all set. I haven't seen any platform out there that really does this like great customer service, great account management that is there with you like every step of the way, because whatever is produced on Stellar, like we want it to be top-notch quality. And so we want to help you in whatever way we can to make sure that that's available.
And I'll echo the Stellar team. I mean, I think something that has really made us feel like not just this was a great decision in terms of the platform, but the Stellar team members that we've worked with this year have been so wonderful and so helpful. And while we haven't utilized the literal live stream at this point, something that was a real benefit to us is, whenever we were streaming anything that was live or pre-recorded before, we really had to have a staff member or a production member who was like there running the live stream and had the expertise to run the live stream and troubleshoot if something went wrong. And so something that's been really great for us is to say, oh, okay, we just kind of have to upload the video and then there can be a live stream and we don't have to sweat it too much. But the team has been so kind and so helpful. And whenever we had a question, just like right there to answer it. So I got to throw that in there too.
Well, I'm not sure if I got to all of the questions that were in the chat. So guys, use your virtual hand raise and let me know if you want to ask something. I know Lee, you have a couple questions. Do you want to just ask them? Lee Roscoe.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to know if you can do a post-show live discussion after a pre-recorded live stream with Stellar. So in other words, if we show our pre-recorded film and afterwards we want to have an eco-organization discuss solutions with an audience, is that possible?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. It depends on the encoding software that you're using to host this stream. And so our stream coach can work with you. So if you're hosting it on a Zoom, you could do the post event talk back through that Zoom if you wanted. You could also do it through, I know Bob, you mentioned StreamYard. A lot of folks that we work with utilize StreamYard. And so you could just right after the show, have that become a post-show talkback. So you could run the show and then immediately have the talkback after. And then we could keep that chat functionality on. So you're able to chat. If anyone's in the audience wants to chat the questions, they can chat away and ask those questions.
Okay. Lee, is that good? Are you good?
Yeah, except for how much do you cost?
Oh yeah, I know. I keep meaning to ask. I keep forgetting. What are the costs?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have different, depending on what you need. We have different platforms, our different lanes of basically depending on what you need. If you just want a live stream and that's it, and not really account management, there's a certain cost bracket. And then if you want the video on demand, if you want like the full Stellar capabilities, and then also we have music licensing that's available as well. And so that could be included. And then we have kind of an advanced section where, if you need us to create specific builds or integrations, that's a different cost. But depending on the package, like it could start at just a commission per ticket of 9.9% per ticket, and that can be passed along to the ticket buyer. And then it just kind of goes up from there. And depending on the package, you may have an annual fee or not, but we want to work with you. So we're willing to, yes. And someone just put in the chat that where you can find our pricing is workwithstellar.com/pricing. And it kind of breaks down all of those different types of pricing that we have. But I would just suggest have a call with us, contact me, contact someone on our team, and we can make recommendations for you on what the pricing model that we think would make the most sense for you. And then we can work with you if you have any budget limitations.
One more question. You guys did Circle Jerk.
We did do Circle Jerk.
And what did you do with them? Did you give them the whole package? How did that work? Because that was fabulous.
Oh, thank you. So what Lee's saying. So we did Circle Jerk was a very unique show, and I think and part of my crassness for saying the title, but it was what they did. I'm starting to see this a lot with different live streams that are coming out, is that the purpose of that show was to be performed in front of an audience, but with the main idea of performing for the folks watching at home and watching that live stream. And so we live streamed, I think they had about 3 weeks of performances. And so they did it at the Connolly Theater down in the Lower East Side in Manhattan, but they had a live studio audience of like 90 people or so. And then folks watched it at home. And so I don't remember, to be totally honest. I think they may have had our professionals package. They could have had our I don't know what package they had, to be totally honest with you, but we really set them up for success. They had stream coaching, they had an account manager that was able to help them throughout that process. And something that I think is so interesting about this whole streaming world is that I'd say, and to jump ahead a little, is that some people ask, Jody, well, why would I want to live stream when I have to sell all of the tickets in the theater first? And I say that's an opposite way of what you need to think. Truly, like what we found, and we did a lot of research on this, is that 67% of people that have watched a live stream or on-demand performance are more likely to go see it in person. And I think that's what happened with Circle Jerk too. Like people saw it at home on their TVs and they're like, I'm intrigued. I want to see, what is this thing now, that like, I want to go see, what is it like in person? It's such a unique and fun show that like, I want to go see it in person as well. And so it's actually the exact opposite. And we're seeing that more and more now with the organizers that we work with.
Paul Smith has a question. I think it's probably what he put in the chat, but we'll find out in a
Yeah,
second.
Jody Bell had alluded to discovery sites or platforms useful to build and grow one's audience, unlike Stellar. And I wonder if you could suggest discovery sites or platforms that might be useful for building or growing one's audience before utilizing a platform like Stellar.
I think honestly, you need to do something hand in hand. So I think we have different integrations with different partners. So we're partnered with Gold Star, so we have an integration with them. So you could do something like that, an integration with Today Ticks, where you could list your site, your show on Today Ticks as well. That's more of a discovery platform. We also have a partnership with the Schubert organization, so they sometimes will send emails on and promoting some of the shows that are being listed on Stellar as well. We also have functionality to any partners that you're working with. So with marketing, I think that like you need to think about first, like, who is your audience? What is your show? Is there a fan base that's already built in that you can tap into? And then from there, you see, okay, well, I'm at this XYZ theater down in Florida, and there's a sister theater across us town. Maybe we can do some cross promotion together, and then like find different partners that you can work with, and maybe you give them a cut of the ticket sale to help them make a little bit of change if they're putting an email out on your behalf, promoting your show. And then just you go from there. You could also use Google Ads or Facebook social marketing, and with Stellar you're able to use pixels that can track those sales as well. But what's great is that
I have to admit, I've never been able to figure out how to use the pixels.
Oh.
You're gonna have to hold my hand and
Well,
I've got the pixels. I just don't know what to do with them.
Well, I'd say the great thing, you have an account manager at Stellar, and that is exactly what we can do. We can help you with your marketing. We sometimes even have marketing calls with our folks to just give them some little tips and tricks of how they can best promote their show. But I think like you have an audience. If you have an audience, like that's the first step, like utilizing the folks that you already have that love your theater, that love your show, and then grow from there.
Any other questions from the audience? Does my community have any questions at all? I mean, we've covered a lot of material here. I'm looking in the chat. I'm not seeing additional questions. Larry Daggett, you usually have a question. What happened? No questions today?
Yeah. Hi. I do have a question.
Why did I know that? Why did I know that?
Inquiring mind, that's me. God, I look like I'm in the Temple of Doom or something here. It's all dark behind me. If we wanted to see something like Circle Jerk is it already recorded? Obviously it is. How would we do that?
So Circle Jerk, it ended its run, I think last month. So I don't know if they're going to do encore performances. I don't know what the future is for that show, but you can go to stellartickets.com and see everything that we have up on our site. If you wanted a little bit of an exploration, or if you want a few recommendations, Larry, you can email me. My email is in the chat, and I'd be happy to like just ask you a few things. We just started working with the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and they have some amazing shows coming up that I think that would be really interesting for this audience. But I also want you guys to go see Madelyn at the 24-hour plays. I think that would be a great show that's coming up on Tuesday, which will be that pre-recorded live event, and then that's going to stay on demand for the next few weeks. So I think that would be an amazing place to start.
So I'm looking at
this coming Tuesday. I'm having.
Yeah, we're doing our virtual premiere on this coming Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then it'll be available to stream through August 24th. We love the number 24.
I'll catch it on stream. I may not be available on Tuesday evening.
Jody, is there a place on the Stellar website where it lists all the shows?
Yes. So are you on stellartickets.com?
It says workwithstellar.com.
Okay, so that's our more of our like that on workwithstellar.com is more of our facing. If you were interested in listing a show on Stellar, that's the site that we use for that. But then if you go to stellartickets.com, it should be right up there front and center for you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
So everybody, I don't know, Jody and Madelyn, we sometimes do breakout rooms if you can stay a little later to meet people. But at this point, since I don't see any hand raises, hint, hint, hint. Nope, don't see any hand raises. So I'm going to go back into speaker view, and I'm going to thank everybody for being with us today. I want to thank Jody so much for sharing information about Stellar. I appreciate it. And it was great. Thank you for bringing in Madelyn. Great meeting you, Madelyn. Great learning a little bit more about 24-hour plays. And I'll try to avoid using the term without passing it by you first. And everybody out there in YouTube land, thank you for being a part of this as well, and thank you for finding us on YouTube. If you'd like to be part of the conversation and you'd like to be in the room, just email me at trunltd@aol.com, trunltd@aol.com, and put Zoom in the headline in a way that'll make me laugh, if you can. So you just send me something that says Zoom in. We'll add you to the list, and we'll invite you every week. I'm trying to remember who's coming up. I'm so tired today. We got some interesting things coming up, of course, in a couple weeks. I don't know if everybody knows who Voze is, but you should. He's a legend in Harlem in Black theater. He's one of the leaders of Black theater. He's been on the forefront for like 50 years, really. We're going to talk about how theater has changed and evolved in terms of diversity and inclusion. And I think it's a conversation that you'll want to be with us for. Next week, actually, we're talking about, there's an interesting play performance production that's done in the Roanoke, Virginia area that has to do with, it deals with the indigenous experience. And what's happened is, over the years, people have become a little bit more aware of the fact that we need to respect the indigenous peoples that we've taken the land away from. And so they had to come in and rethink the piece, and they won a Tony Award for this piece. So that's next week. That's my friend Jeff Whiting and a musician, an indigenous musician who helped them look at the piece that they've been doing. It's The Lost Colony. That's what it's called. I've been like struggling to try to remember what it was called. The Lost Colony. So it will be a unique, a different conversation, but it's going to basically be how you take, the overview of it is how do you take racially sensitive material and find ways of still making it palatable in today's market and in today's world. Palatable to those of us who are aware enough of what is palatable and what isn't palatable. There are people who have no idea. We won't even go. We won't even go there. So be with us. Be part of the community. I love having you here. We do this for free. Okay, here it comes. We do this for free, everyone. But we do have a pay what you can opportunity to donate to us so that you can keep us going. Now that we're going into live performance, you know, most of you must realize that this is going to increase our expenses tenfold. I mean, already I can tell you how much it costs us to do a play reading virtually, and how much it costs us to do one live 2 weeks ago at the Actors Temple. So whatever support you can send our way, I'd appreciate, because I want to keep going. We will stay virtual. I've said this before, for the community gatherings and a lot of our programs. I don't want to lose my international global. Hey, we have somebody here from Australia who is like, it's like, I don't know, it's 6 a.m. there. So yeah, I value that. I value people coming in from the UK and from Australia and Malaysia and Singapore. So we're going to keep the virtual format going, and we will be starting a live program in October. We're going to start doing monthly live panels, and we are looking into how the best way, which I'm going to ask Jody about and Madelyn about at some point, the best way to do them is hybrids, because we want to be able to do a live panel and also live stream it to people that are not able to be with us live. And that's the world we're in. And if you want to donate to us, I don't think I said the link. It's TRU Donate, TRUDonate.com, TRUDonate.com. And thank you for being with us, and hope to see you soon.